music the whole time. All right. I won't promise. Can y'all hear me? All right. DJ asked me to come up here and just share my story about identity. And I thought about it um, probably more than I should have, and also less than I should have because I had a football game. So I usually don't sound this raspy or cool. It's usually a little higher, but when you yell at kids long enough, it happens. So, my wife and I, we're from South Dakota, and we were always raised as Christians. That's where we started, and we focused our kind of thought on. And so, we went to college in South Dakota, graduated from there, had 2 kids, moved down to Kansas, and that's where I got to kind of explore my degree in engineering, right? So I started my job, fell in love with my job, and really just focused on diving into it, really. Like, it was plant operations, so I got to be a great engineer. I got to get recognition, I got awards, I got promotions, and it felt great. It was something that I got to like focus on and be successful in. And through all of that, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then I got involved in the community, and then it became about status. Then it became about how much money I was making, who had nicer cars, who had a bigger house, more land, all that good stuff, right? So you kind of get caught up in those materialistic things. And what was weird is the more I invested on that, the more I focused on like my family being like, hey, dad's over here working. I need you all to be appreciative of what I'm doing. Like, I need you to see how much I'm sacrificing. That's not really fair to put them through that. I chose that sacrifice. They necessarily didn't. And so I think through that, that's where I started identifying. I saw myself in my job. I saw myself with that success. I saw myself in the promotions, the recognitions, the relationships. That's all great, but I think they're secondary now as I look back. And so as I was focusing on probably things that weren't really driving me forward, COVID hit. I don't know if y'all went through that like I did, but I felt like I lost complete control. And so I was really looking at that like, why don't I have control? Why am I losing it? Where am I losing myself at? I just couldn't focus. So in 2020, we visited Idaho, fell in love. Obviously, y'all did too. Moved here in 21. I don't say it was easy, but it went relatively smooth. Finding a new job, selling our old house, finding a new house, pretty smooth process. Got into my new job, kind of felt the same way, just a little lost. And I think in 21 is when I started doing this whole word of the year thing. And so I focused on control. Like, what does control mean to me? And I sucked so bad at figuring that out. I did it again in 22. So it took me 2 years to figure out what control meant to me. And I think it was the fact that I didn't have faith in what God was doing for me. I focused on trying to control everything that around me, whether it was my job, my kids, my wife, my look, what the community thought of me. I was focusing and identifying on all these things that weren't God. And so in 22, I started to do that. And it's kind of crazy is I don't have a whole lot of stress and anxiety anymore. I won't call it what I told DJ it was, but in short, it's the F it bucket. I didn't use that, see? But it's funny because I put a lot of stuff in there, and really that's my analogy to God, right? If I can't control it, it goes there. If it's outside of that presence, it goes there, and it really helps define who I am better through Christ and identify with Him. And so I think in closing, the big thing I learned that I'll leave you all with is I don't know if anything in my life, if God's supposed to make it easy, but I definitely think He's supposed to bring you peace through it. And so I think as I continue to go through these challenges and different things in my life, I really focus on the peace that He brings me through it. So that's my story.
Here, stay here with me for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to come up and pray for him? Okay. Wow, whoops. I was just going to ask, men, how many of us can relate to that, huh? Seriously, maybe we all need we'll call it a Jesus bucket.
I did say the real
You did? No, yeah, I'm really proud of you, actually. Yeah, I'm really proud of you. Yeah. Well, Danae, if you want to just pray for you.
God, we just thank you so much for Matt and his transparency. God, there is so often, let's be real, God, it's daily that we need to set that down, to say we choose to see who you created us to be and to let that be the first. God, I pray today that as Matt walks forward, you would just honor him, his transparency, his journey. God, we thank you so much for him telling his story here. And for those of us that are contending in that area, let Matt's story be an inspiration to us, to know that we're not alone, and the fact that we just need to lay it all down before you, to set some things aside that we've been choosing to see our value and our worth in, and to instead turn to you. Open hands, palms up, saying, I'll take whatever you have and let that be my value. So God, thank you so much for Matt and this